Tokar Player and I am Tokar Player Tariq, and today I'm going to be your host for today's EDH deck tech. Now, in today's deck tech, I'm showing you one of the most intriguing and my favorite Azorius commander to build. This commander is kind of complicated to build around due to win conditions and how to actually truly play him. He is a group hug commander that will give everyone something, but you will have to win in some way, which is why he's hard to build. But this build is going to be interesting. In today's video, I'm going to be going over win conditions, every single card I have in the deck. So don't worry about me just like giving you highlights. I'm going to go over the full deck and every synergy possible and how you're gonna win your game. So anyways, but before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and like for more content. This did take me a while, so just please subscribe and like. We are getting somewhere. The views are skyrocketing. I'm going to say thank you so much. And if you want to see more content of decks, I do have more, and I am bringing out more pretty soon. Anyways, let's get started into Quinn, the Meddler. Okay, so starting off, Kwain costs Azorius, which is just a white and a blue. He's a 1/3 who's a legendary creature rabbit wizard. And you may tap him. Each player may draw a card. Then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. So he's a group hug commander. Every time you tap him, everyone will draw a card and gain a life. This can help your opponent, but then how the deck I have it built is you're going to be punishing your opponent for drawing, and you drawing, and then you're going to be punishing your opponent with damage and meal. So this is going to be intriguing how I'm going to build him. But really, that's it. You're not going to attack at all in this deck, so just be prepared for that as well. But anyways, let's get started into the lands. We have an Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse. Then we have a Meandering River, a Tranquil Cove, Azorius Guildgate, a Sergi Refuge, and Azorius Chancery. Of course, these are obvious. This is a 2-color deck, so if you are missing plains or island, these are necessary. And these are good if you don't know which one you need, and it's best when it comes in handy. So yeah, this is all your special land in the deck. To islands, we have 19 islands in total. The reason why I have so much is because you do need this mana, and you are going to be drawing a lot of cards, and you will need to definitely make sure that you have the mana to go with those cards. You don't want to be discarding any cards at all. And most of the cards you need in this deck to operate are blue. You do need a few plains in it there, but blue is your main color in this deck. Plains, we have 14 plains in total, 14. The reason why there's 5 differences, like I said, with islands, the islands are more important and valuable in the deck compared to the plains. The plains are good, but like I said, you will need more island than plains to use your hand more effectively. Out of the boarding lands, we're going to go straight to artifacts. So starting off, we have a Field Mist Border Post, a Sky Diamond, a Marble Diamond, an Azorius Locket, an Azorius Cluestone, Skull Cage, Godfrey Statue, one of my favorite artifacts in this deck, Isolation Cell, we have Forzo's Ban, and we have a Foil of Fantasies. So I'm going to go over these last, and I'm going to go in order. I'm going to start off with the mana rocks first. This is actually a really cheap mana rock to get because you may pay 1, so any color, and return a basic land you control to its owner's hand rather than paying the mana cost. So let's say you only have 1 mana to access. You can quickly just do this and play it. It does come to full tap, but this is a good first turn. And this was budget. So basically, this is a $32 deck build, and it turned out to be really effective and good. And then on top of that, I do have a Brutaclad $45 deck build. I'm just waiting on a few more cards to come in, and I'll go over that. But yeah, then we have Sky Diamond, Marble Diamond, and of course the Locket and Cluestone. Makes sense, you know, need that stuff. 3 are your punishment and damage outputters. So what Skull Cage does is it will deal 2 damage during that player's upkeep if she has 3 or 4 cards exactly. So you can use Kwain to get that exact amount if you need it. and punish them for it. Then we have Isolation Cell. We are going to be punishing our opponent for actually playing the game. Whenever they cast a creature spell, that player loses 2 life unless he or she pays 2. So every single creature spell they will be casting will cost 2 more to cast off of this. Unless they have that. If they don't have the extra mana, then they will be burning out. Then Godfrail Statue will make everything cost 2 more to cast. And it's actually really toxic because there could be games where you're keeping these and then everything's going to start to cost 4 more to cast for your opponents. And their mana isn't just efficient enough to actually keep up with this. And then at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life, which is also good. And it just works. So these are your punish artifacts for your opponents actually playing the game. We have Furzel's Ban. It will just increase all creature spells, which are summon spells. This card is very old, you can tell from the white border, by 2. And then my favorite artifact and one of my favorite cards in the deck is Folio of Fantasies. For a colorless and a blue, it's an artifact. Players have no maximum hand size, and you're going to be thinking, this is good for your opponent. No, it is not, because of how this card works. And there are a lot of enchantments I'm going to go through next that explains how come this is actually perfectly fine in the deck compared to decks that can benefit your opponents from this. Anyways, basically, you can, for 2x, for an X and an X, tap this card, each player draws X cards. So that means how the even amount you pay for both of these. So, you're going to be thinking, yeah, your opponent's going to be getting lots of cards, but then, if you have, I have tons of stuff in this deck I'm going to go over in just a minute with the synergy of this. And for 2 and a blue, you may tap this. Each opponent puts a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of their library into the grave. That's where it gets good, because then you're going to be forcing your opponent to mill out your deck, even though you are giving them stuff, unless you unless you're kind of torturing them in a way. So that's why this is perfectly fine in the deck, and that's why it's my favorite. Enchantments, we have Teferi's Tutelage and Jace's Eraser for some of the mills. So, Teferi's Tutelage, I'm going to go over this real quick. For 2 and a blue, when Teferi Tutelage enters the battlefield, you may draw a card, then discard a card, that's fine. But every time you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards, so you're going to be milling 2 cards every time you draw. And then if you have stuff like your Kwain or Folio of Fantasies, you could be drawing a ton of cards and milling a ton of cards out of your opponents, and that's going to be really fun. Even though it is a 100-card deck, they'll probably still be playing out and stuff, so this is actually really good. And then we have Jace's Eraser. Every time I draw a card, I can have target player put the top card of his library into his graveyard. So it's not going to be as powerful as Tutelage, but it is still mill with both of these cards, so it's perfectly fun. Stopping annoying stuff enchantments, we have Law Mage's Binding, Reprobation, and Frogify. So these 2 cost a colorless, one costs a blue, one costs a white, and this one costs Zorius and 1. So this one has Flash, enchant creature, can attack or block, and its activated abilities can activate. This one, enchant creature loses all abilities and is coward, and is a coward creature with base power and toughness of 0-1, so that's really good. And Frogify, enchant creature loses all abilities and is a blue frog with base power and toughness of 1-1. So this is really going to stop your opponent from doing big plays. Like my friend, he has an Urza deck. If I use this on his Urza, I have shut down his home turn value engine until he can get rid of this, and that's really good. So these cards are helpful getting rid of those annoying commanders or plays that your opponents are making. So artifacts, we have Oblivion Ring and Banishing Light. So they both cost 2 and a white. Oblivion Ring, when it enters battlefield, you may exile another target non-land permanent. When it leaves the battlefield, you may return that exile card to the battlefield. Banishing Light, when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent, and opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. So same exact thing, just different text. Which is just your opponents. We have Ashes of Adorant, Deafening Silence, and Rule of Law. So let's go with Deafening Silence first. For a white, each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell per turn, which is really good against things that are trying to run sorcery and stuff like Niv-Mizzet, and other things that they need to get their support engine going. Rule of Law, each player can cast more than 1 spell each turn. This is my favorite card in the deck because I am stopping everything, and I do have a Narset in here. I do have Narset per fair, and that will make them not be able to play. anything out of their hand, well, they won't be able to get any support to try to do stuff, and that's going to be really good. And then we have Ashes, which costs 1 and a white. Players can't cast spells from the graveyards or activate ability cards in graveyards. This is good. It can stop things like flashback and other things. And whenever a creature dies, you gain a life, which is good. It can be on your opponent's field or your field. Most likely it's not going to be on your field because I only run like 5 or 6 creatures. I can't remember the exact amount. So yeah, that's really it. Next is slow down your opponent. We have War Tax for 2 and a blue. You may tap X and a blue. Creatures can attack this turn unless the controller pays X for each attacking creature, stopping them from trying to kill you. Teferi's Most for 3, a white, and a blue. It's definitely one of the most weakest enchantments in the deck, but it does help. You may choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color without flying can attack. That's good against color decks. Then we have Spiritual Asylum for 2 and 2 white. Creatures and lands you control can't be the target of spells or abilities. This is good so you can stop yourself from destruction if you're going to get Eldrazi, which can be very annoying. And whenever a creature control attacks, sacrifice this. You have no creatures that can attack. That is the most dumbest thing you can do in this deck, so definitely don't attack. Then we have Frozen Aether for 3 and a blue. Artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponent's control come to play tapped, so we're going to be stopping them from doing stuff. Then we have Dreamtides for 2 and 2 blue. Creatures do not untap during the controller's untapping phase. Good thing you don't attack except for Kwain, but it's no problem. Each non-green creature controller may pay an additional 2 during his or her upkeep to untap that creature. So they do have to pay 2 per creature, not all creatures, since it's not plural, which means that they're going to be wasting a lot of mana just so they can build up a board. So these are really your stop attacking and stop getting rid of, and slow down your opponent enchantments that can be very annoying for them to deal with. Lastly, we have Late Claim. This is good if you want to gain control of a permanent, but you can also cycle this. And then we have Fall of Thran, which is the most bullcrappiest enchantment I have in this deck. For 5 and a white, you destroy all lands. That's all that needs to be said about this card. You're destroying all lands. And then the next 2 sagas, each player returns 2 lands, so they're only getting 4 lands back. So if you end up blowing up the field, because there is a lot of board wipes, and then you just play this, your opponent is not going to make a comeback anytime soon. So this is why this is a really bullcrappy enchantment in this deck. We have End of Hostilities for 3 and 2 white. You destroy all creatures and permanents attached creatures. Then we have Time Light. This is good if you don't want things to blow up. Quinn only costs 2, so let him die. Get something back that's more important. Return creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. That's good. Then we have Global Ruin for 4 and a white. Each player chooses from the lands he or she controls a land of each basic land type, then sacrifices the rest. So that means you're only going to keep like 2 lands. It's good against Wooburg decks, and I love Wooburg decks. Then we have Approach of the Second Sun. This is one of your win conditions in the game, besides Mill. So it costs 6. It costs 7 in total, 6 and white, and you're gonna be like, that's successful, but not really. So if Approach of the Sun was cast from your hand, and you cast another spell, you win the game. Otherwise, put it back 7 card from the top of your library, and then you gain 7 life. So you're paying 1 mana per life, but then if you did cast this, it is auto win, and you do have a ton of draw power. So if you just draw your deck, and you can easily recast in the same turn if you wanted, if you have the mana, which you could. Then we have Deep Analysis, which is really good. You can draw 2 cards, and then you can pay 3 and flashback it. Then we have Mass Manipulation, another win condition. Basically, you can tap 2 X's and 4. You can gain control of X target creatures and planeswalkers. This is going to be really good because you're going to be gaining control of a lot of creatures, and you're going to be having a lot of power in your field, most likely. So that's actually really good. Distance is the biggest part of this deck besides enchantments, and there are a lot of really juicy, spicy ones in here, so let's get on to it. Starting off, we have Precognitive Perception. For 3 and 2, draw 3 cards, and if you cast a spell during your main phase instead, you scry 3 then draw 3, which is good. Then we have Fact or Fiction, a really good a staple blue card for blue decks, so you can look at what's at the top and get what you want to get. Then you have Dissipate for colorless and 2 blue. Counter target spell. If countered this way, exile it. Then we have Negate. You counter a non-creature. Then we have Sinister Sabotage. For a colorless and 2, you counter target spell and Surveil. Surveil, what that means is that you look at the top card. You can choose to put it in your graveyard or at the bottom of your deck. No, you choose to either put it in your graveyard or leave it there. So unlike Scry where it stays, it goes. Then we have Rerun. It's a powerful counterspell and you untap 4 lands. Then we have Didn't Say Please. Yeah, you have to axe. I know, right? So counter target spell. Its controller puts top 3 cards of their library. Perfect mill. Then we have Supreme Will. You may counter target spell unless they pay 3, so that's good punishment. And then, or you would look at the top cards of your library and put one of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom of any order. Then we have Thought Collapse. You counter and then they mill. Then we have Leadership Vacuum. You return each commander that player controls into the command zone and you draw a card. Then we have Aetherize. Return all attack creatures to their owner's hand. Condemn. Put target attacking creature on the bottom of the library and the owner gains control of life. Gains life equal to toughness. Then we have Opt. You scry and want to draw, obviously. Then we have Crush Contraband. You can exile artifact enchantment or both. Then you have Disenchant. You target enchantment artifact is destroyed. Then we have Depose and Deploy. You may tap target creature and draw a card. Or you create 2 Thopter tokens with flying and then you gain a life for each creature control. And that's kind of trash. You really want that Dispose, but you could use Deploy if you wanted. Then we have Azori's Charm. Creatures you control gain lifelink until the end turn. Not good. You don't really block unless you have to. Or you draw a card or put attacking or blocking creature on the top of its owner's library. So yeah, that's really good. So really, all these instants are related to draw or counter or saving your life in some way from attacking creatures. And that's the entire point. This is my favorite due to artwork, just like how cool that looks. But yeah, so and all this is a good instant lineup for this deck. Here's we have Doiven, Hand of Control, and we have Narset, Purveyor of Veils. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why did you get War of the Spark Japanese Exclusive Edition? Because it looks cool. Now, anyways, let's go over Devon first. Devon for 2 and white or blue. Artifacts and instants and source spells your opponent cost 1 more cast. That's good. And you may -1 until your next turn, prevent all damage that will be dealt to and dealt by target permanent and opponent controls. And then he has 5. Onto Narset for a colorless and 2 blue. She has 5, and her top effect states each opponent can draw more than 1 card each turn. That is good because that means that if you want to use Quinn, one of your opponents aren't drawing. That's good. And if you want to know the name, because it's in Japanese right here, it's Narset, Parter of Veils. Okay. And you may -2 her, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them, put it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. This is why I said it's going to be easy to reuse second Approach of the Sun, because you will be able to just use Narset and a lot of draw power, and if you have the mana, just replay that card. So this is really the only Planeswalkers you need in the deck. So we have Brayard. Creatures can attack your Planeswalkers you control unless they pay 1 for each creature. Then we have Archon of Absolution. Protection from white. Creatures can attack you unless they pay 1. Then we have Sokatli, Honor Guard. Creatures can cost ETBs, which means enter the battlefield. Then we have Azor's Elocutors. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a counter on him. When he has 5 more counters, you win the game. But if a source would deal damage to you, you have to remove a counter from him. So he's like that last second win. And if you can, since this is a group hub deck, you are going to be helping out and you're going to be making deals with your teammates. When you use those deals and you ask them not to do something, they have to follow through with those deals, which is why it's a really good deal. Then we have Magus. He is a good board wipe. All creatures at the beginning of my upkeep have sacrificed this creature unless you pay 1. So, it's not all creatures you control, it's all creatures that they control. So if you play this during your turn, that's fine, it's not your upkeep. When they go to their upkeep, they're dead. Then we have Contaminant Priest. If not token creature went to the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it. This is perfection. Wanna know why? One of the most BS commanders, besides Jorah, when it comes to artifacts, is Urza. Urza will start turboing out artifact creatures onto his field. He can't do that. He can't do that anymore. He can't. So this is actually a really good card to stop plays like that. And lastly, we have Lavinia, Azorius Renegade for Azorius. She's 2/2 Human Soldier. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with current mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. So that's good. It can really stop some plays. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Also good. So she's going to just counter everything that your opponent is trying to cheat out with mana. Anyways, that is it for the Kwain EDH deck tech. Let me know if you enjoyed this. This build is absolutely ridiculous, and it will really make your opponent not want to play Magic that much anymore. But anyways, let me know if you buy this deck, and let me know if you tried it out. I have one. Like I said, how you're gonna play this? You're gonna do a lot of deals. You want to play politics, and you want to mill your opponent. That's the whole entire game. And your opponent probably won't kill you first, and here's why. They want this draw engine off of Quinn. They want to be able to get draw power. So they will probably not kill you first. They will try to kill each other because they want to keep you alive for draw power. So that is a cool part about Quinn. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you guys later. Card Players out.